yes, I'm going to start recording. Hot dang, the show's begun.
Yay, and I've been recording this entire time.
Good.
The
Good,
record
lad.
coming from inside the house.
Oh, that's where I record. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Marty.
Are we just doing Back to the Future impersonation?
Yes, I don't know. You just, the way you said yeah made me think of Doc Brown.
Slacker. Who was that?
It's the principal.
Oh, man, you're so good. Or
Yeah.
I'm really good at
Yeah,
impersonations.
give me these sweet Back to the Future trivias.
Okay. Now who am I impersonating?
George McFly.
Oh my god, I'm the best.
Yep.
You butthead.
Biff.
Oh, no, that was me calling you a butthead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I got the answer wrong. The answer was an asshole.
Surprisingly, it's kind of the same thing. Huh.
Ben, you're still really red.
Yeah, I was in the sun a lot today.
Oh, okay. That's
No, I
your
wasn't. I don't
actual
know.
color.
I'm bad at I mean, it's not the best camera in the world.
No, mine's the same way, and I have the light that's nearest to my computer that I use for lighting is in a orange whatever you call it around the light bulb. So it's like an orangish light that I'm in.
The lampshade thing?
Yeah, the lampshade. That's the word.
Here, I'm just gonna be classic.
Oh, that'd be
Oh,
great. We
God.
should just be black and white all the time. That'd be good.
Too bad you can't put like film grain on my camera or something like that. Like, is that a filter we can use?
Sure.
Oh,
I'm not
thanks.
going to put in the work to do it right now, but we can do it at some point.
Well, okay, here are your options: black and white or this.
Oh, that. That's great. Ben's
This is
calling
the-
us from the neon zone.
This is for when people are tripping on shrooms or something.
I like that we've decided to go live to where people can hear us but not see us, and then decided to talk about nothing but visuals.
Well, hey, you said I was like really red, so
It's
I mean, my forehead's really shiny because the light's right there.
Uh-huh.
that's my problem. Is yeah.
I run into that same issue. I have an overhead light, but when I turn it on, my bald head reflects it right at the camera. So I don't like to turn it on because I look like I've been J.J. Abrams.
Oh.
Sorry, going back to Back to the Future, my sister and I, there's two things that we always say to each other, like all the time. The first one is, I think he took his wallet.
Yeah, I say that a lot too.
And then the other one is this your ball? Is this your ball? Well, go get it.
Oh God.
I love Back to the Future.
These are good quotes, Ben. Good job. You did it.
Yeah, well, it's funny because when I was little, like in first grade or whatever, I was obsessed with the movies. And I did the whole damn where's that kid thing like in the kitchen when we were getting ready to go to church, and I didn't know it was bad.
Damn.
Like we
Damn,
were waiting
damn,
for my
damn.
sister. Like, damn, where's that kid? And like I could tell my mom was like trying not to bust up laughing, and my dad was just like, "You don't say that." And I'm just like, okay. Like I had no idea. It's just fun.
I mean, one of the first things I ever did was cuss in front of a bunch of nuns, so...
Oh.
Yeah, so my dad was a big fan of the movie Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
Okay.
And apparently he used to watch it with me as a little kid, not knowing that I was picking anything up from it. And so they took me to Knott's Berry Farm, and I was playing in, they had this like big ball pit with a ledge that ran around the circumference of the ball pit. And I got up there, and in an effort to, at an early age, bond with my dad and show him that, like, hey, unity in our fondness for things, I went, Dad! And then I started waving my hands back and forth and went, oh, shit! And then fell back into the ball pit, and my parents were sitting right next to two nuns who, they had just prior copped to being my parents, and then I did that. That's how I thanked them.
Did the nuns find it enjoyable and funny?
No, my understanding is the nuns did not think it was as cute as my parents did.
At least your parents thought it was cute.
Yeah.
They
Well,
could have disowned you.
Well, they did, but then they found it was cute later. It was like, oh, this is weird. Look at that kid. And then later, after the nuns left, it was like, all right, you're all right.
Perfect. Well, do we want to go ahead and do a show?
I mean, wasn't that a show? Was that not a show?
Well, I mean, we can talk more Back to the Future if you
I felt
want.
good about it.
Well, let's put it this way, John. I mean, Turarts, if you agree with me anyways, we can call that the pre-show.
Oh.
I think it's a good pre-show.
I'm not anxious to
It has
start
the word
real
show in it.
Because I'm going to have to turn on the camera, and I've been doing this weird, like, ADD movement in my chair that I'm going to have to stop as soon as the camera's on. Like,
what? Okay, describe this to us, and Turarts and I will both try to act it out. Again, the chat room can't see this, so it's just going to be for us.
you know how a snake, like wiggles back and forth, you know? I'm basically doing that in my chair right now.
Like we were both just doing just now?
Yeah, basically that. I'm just moving from one side of the microphone to the other. I couldn't even tell if you guys could tell I was doing it.
Nope.
No, because I mean, you're going like this when you're talking, so we're not getting like a Doppler effect or anything.
Right.
I mean, we totally could do like a total Doppler effect and then just keep kind of going back and forth like this if you wanted. I mean, that's if you're going.
I mean, even then, your microphone did a pretty
That's
good
a
job
lot
of
of
avoiding it.
exercise. I'm not down with that.
Well, I'm kind of fat, so that's probably okay. So the entire show just. So John, what do you think about
Well, Ben, let me tell you all about the World of Warcraft.
Cool.
It's a really great place, and I'm gonna enjoy being a part of it every single time.
Oh Lord.
No, what we'll do is we just won't tell anybody in the audio version of that, so they think that there's something wrong with their player, whatever it is.
You guys kept being in different channels.
Poor
man.
audio people.
One of the first times we ever recorded and everything was like in the left ear. We learned not to do that again.
Seriously, I didn't know about that.
I like Draven in the chat's talking about times he's been asked not to come back to churches.
Because he asked too many questions.
I've never been asked not to come back to a church, but I sometimes have a very communicative stomach, to say the very least. And one time they were doing a silent prayer at a youth group I was going at the time. Everybody was quiet and like praying, I think. And my stomach just and it took all my will to not just be like, praise Jesus. Because I thought it was funny. They did not.
So the absolute best church story that I have, well, the funniest anyway, it was a Christmas Eve service. And this is at the point where my sister and I had both like graduated out of Sunday school,
Oh.
but still Christmas Eve. So, you know, we're watching the kids thing or whatever. And I don't remember what exactly was going on, but it wasn't like a traditional, you know, like manger scene and stuff like that. But, you know, there were still kids kind of dressed up and stuff like that. And, you know, there's more contemporary music added and everything. So then all of a sudden, like they switched to this song where someone's like, "Wake up, baby Jesus." And then at the same exact time, like after it was said, someone dropped like a hymnal or a Bible or something right onto like the wood floor. So we could, "Wake up, baby Jesus." Wow. And my sister and I, like, we lost it. We had to get up and leave because we were just dying so much. It was so freaking hysterical. And like we could barely come back for the rest of the whole thing. It was just wake up, baby Jesus. Wham! Just it was fantastic.
Oh
A
Lord.
lot of people got hurt at my church for some reason.
Really?
One of the times was my fault.
Okay.
There was one time where, I don't know, we were playing like, and I don't know why. Again, this was a youth group. This wasn't like Sunday church,
Mhm.
but like we decided that we wanted to see if we could cross from one end of the room to the other without touching the floor.
You're playing the floor is lava.
Yeah, we were playing the floor is lava, and a kid wanted to jump from one chair to another, and it was going to be a pretty big leap.
No.
So he leapt, and he banged his head against this like part where the ceiling lowered, and he ended up having to get 4 stitches. He cut his head open so bad.
Oh my gosh.
So that one wasn't my fault. But then we did play a game of American Gladiators one time,
Oh no.
and we wrapped these big pillows around like a pole so that we could do the, I don't remember what it was called in American Gladiators, but
The joust.
yeah, you stood up on the thing and you tried to bop the other person off. Well, they covered the sides, but I did a thrust and bashed my friend's brother in the face with it, and he took the pole right to the nose and just
Oh.
nose exploded in blood. It was
Oh.
it was rough. We also put on a wrestling skit for the church at one point. And it was a lot more real than you would have expected it to be. People got hit with things pretty hard.
God.
So, church is dangerous. Be careful.
School is also dangerous.
Sure.
In 7th grade in drama, we were basically all trying to do some sort of skit and everything like that. And so we all broke off into groups to do everything. Well, my group, we decided that we were going to do Monty Python and the Holy Grail because, whatever, we like Monty Python and the Holy Grail. So all of the rehearsals that we did just ended up with us like fighting each other with like cardboard tubes, and that's all we did for 3 weeks. We get into drama and we would just fight because we were choreographing. And it was absolutely fantastic that the teacher didn't seem to care at all. Then we did our little performance, which basically no one prepared for, because we all knew the movie. We just kind of acted some stuff out, and that was about it. Great.
I mean, my eternal claim to fame will always be that I broke Blake's nose on his 21st birthday.
Yep.
And to this day, he's like, the other day he was telling me, he's like, yeah, people were complaining about this thing, but I couldn't smell it because my sense of smell is really bad. And I started laughing so hard because I broke his nose. He can't smell right since then.
Oh, wow.
It's permanently messed up. I permanently ruined his life.
Well, John, you do affect people's lives.
Look, he headbutted me, technically.
He did. I mean, I wasn't there, but after hearing the story, it's really his fault.
It really is. When you get right down to it, it's mostly his fault. His nose was broken. It was broken on my head, but he was the generator of the motion which broke his own nose.
Yes, exactly. All right.
Well,
We should probably talk about WoW or something.
now that we've talked about blood and church and noses, we should move on.
Yeah.
Hi, chat room. What do you guys want to talk about tonight?
Well, no, let me start the actual show and then we'll get into it. I've got something we can go for.
Okay, great.
All right. So, welcome to Azeroth Roundtable, episode 267. My name is Ben Bumhofer. With me, as always, is John Jagger on this wonderful Friday night. How you doing, John?
Hello, Ben. It is Friday night here in Azeroth. You almost didn't remind me, but I'll remind you. I'm so happy to be joining you here tonight. It's the weekend. It took a long time to get here. We made it. If you're on the other side of the world, you're already a part of it. You know what's going on. You know what's up. If you're listening to this on Monday, remember the time we were all so happy and naive. But
Also, forward to the coming weekend.
yeah, you've only got
5 days.
Sure, probably. It depends on when they listen.
I mean,
to it.
unless you have a job where you don't get normal weekends.
Look,
then...
we can't record a version of this for everybody.
Yeah.
But it's not just us this week.
No, it's not.
No. Do you want to introduce our guest? I'm gonna ask because previous times we've made it weird.
Yeah, I know. This definitely isn't one of those times.
It's a good thing we're doing this professionally this time.
Exactly. Well, this week we are joined by Turarts, one of the most wonderful guests that we have. Thank you very much for
Aw.
joining us this week.
I'm glad to be on. I love it when you guys have me on. It's always good conversation.
Yes. Even if it's weird conversation, it's still
It's so good.
Yes.
That's right.
So, okay, I have an idea. I kind of had an idea on where to kick us off. But first and foremost, I just want to say that I have a 110 Nightborn Mage. Happy
What?
side. Woo! I might not really like the heritage armor after spending all this time trying to get to it. Woo!
And when he finished his climb up Mount Everest, Ben looked around him and said, well, shit.
Kind of, but that's beside the point. That's not what we're here to talk about tonight. So okay, I was working today, took a break, saw an article that was put in PC Gamer. It was an interview with someone who I don't remember. It doesn't help.
Professional podcasting. Love
No,
it.
professional.
Yeah, lots of research went into this discussion.
Yeah, I mean I could find it, but I'm not going to right now.
That's fine.
When someone else is talking, I might look. But anyways, it was, there were some questions asked and everything like that. I just kind of skimmed through some of it and everything, and then something kind of caught my eye. So the idea behind Battle for Azeroth, I don't know if you guys know this or not, is Horde versus Alliance. It's this new concept that they're coming up with.
It's a bold stance to take,
Very
man.
bold.
Yeah. Exactly. Very bold.
Two great flavors that don't play well together.
Especially when you mix those two different game fuel flavors together. Just, didn't work too well. But no, anyways.
Does it turn brown? I bet it turns brown.
Actually, I don't know. I never mixed them because what I really wanted to do is mix them together with like some vodka or something and then be like, woo.
Get vodka.
Yeah.
Is that really what you wanted to do, Ben?
It is actually what I wanted to do, but I just never got around to it because after the first time I tried the blue flavor, I'm like, that's really gross. So
Blue's better.
I'm
Actually,
drinking... Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say at my doctor's office today, they have this thing with tips, and it says never drink anything blue. That is a tip on their calendar. Another one was like spend time with your kids, but literally the last tip was never drink anything blue. I'm like,
But
that is an odd tip.
Blue things.
like
I'm
blue.
currently drinking a Mountain Dew Baja Blast. It is blue.
I wouldn't say that's blue. That's more of a light green.
What?
Yeah.
You're crazy. That's blue.
No, totally not.
I just did an ad for Taco Bell and didn't realize I turned it right to the part where it says Taco Bell.
Nice.
Shows long-standing Taco Bell history continues.
Look,
Look, it's a bluish green, but I would say it still applies to don't drink anything blue.
Yeah.
At
Okay.
the very least, I think we can agree on that. But you should drink it because Baja Blast is delicious.
I need to try it again. I had it once and thought it was gross, but the syrup just might have been out at on the machine.
No, it is. It tastes like window cleaner, Ben.
Okay.
But for some reason, you're like, ugh, window cleaner. I'll have more, just to make sure.
So
This
it
is the
really
best
wasn't...
ad ever.
Okay.
It's not
All right.
good
So why are you drinking it?
because it's somehow good.
Like black licorice to some people.
Something like that. No, I never came around on black licorice.
But someone has.
This I came around on right quick. The only fun thing about Baja Blast is, as a joke, we started calling it Badja Blast because it's fun to mispronounce things. And then Badja Blast turned into Badger Blast. And sometimes you call a thing by the wrong name long enough, and when you're at the drive-thru at Taco Bell, you forget that they're not in on the joke. And you order a Badger Blast. And surprisingly, they didn't question it.
That's because that is what you call it, John. It's the Badger Blast.
The Badger Blast. I need one of them Badger Blasts. Just give it to me. Straight up. It's don't look it up in the Urban Dictionary.
Oh no. No. I'll be checking on that some other time too. But so anyways, Badger Blast aside, And you think that'd be something I like, because of pet battles and whatnot. But anyways, um, okay. So Horde versus Alliance, yada yada yada, Battle for Azeroth, all that stuff. Anyways, so in the article with the Q&A and everything like that, they made a big point about how the final boss of the expansion isn't going to be revealed until the very last patch. And that really kind of got me thinking. First of all, have they ever done this before? Kind of.
They tried.
Yeah, they tried. Pandaria, it's oh, there is no end boss. It's it's going to be the Shaw or something. And then after the first patch, everyone's like, it's going to be Garrosh, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, it's not going to be Garrosh. We wouldn't kill a faction leader like that. Totally Garrosh. And then, well, originally for Warlords of Draenor, they're like, yeah, are you going to kill all the warlords? It's going to be awesome and stuff. And then they change it to, yeah, it's just not going to be some orc at the very end, because they changed it to Archimond, if I remember correctly. Yeah. So this is kind of normal territory at this point, where they're not telling us who the big bad is, because I remember it was a huge break going from Cataclysm to Pandaria.
Yes.
But now it's just kind of there these days. So who do you guys think that the end boss is going to be?
Ourselves.
We just all perform seppuku and then it's over. That's why there's so many allied races. It's because we have to re-roll.
I don't know. I think if I'm going to give a real guess, I'm going to say it's going to be old gods. I think this is going to turn into a, we're fighting to save Azeroth. It's corruption. That's why our faction leaders are all battling each other. Now we got to fight some old god business. That's what it is. And maybe it's stuff that's under the control of old gods. Maybe it's a fight to save our faction leaders. Maybe everybody becomes possessed. Who knows? But
and by the way, that interview was with World of Warcraft production director John Haidt.
Great.
Obviously.
There we go.
Obviously.
Yeah, clearly.
Duh.
I think that's the way it probably goes. I see chat already throwing out Sylvanas. Sure, maybe, but oh my gosh, I hope not. I don't know how many more expansions I can take of the Horde faction leader as the
constantly
final boss.
rolling. Yeah.
So, sure, they could. I'm going... Look, it's difficult because I see both sides, right? Mm-hmm. I log in, I see stuff that's getting data mined, I get put in the zeitgeist. The other day I got home and someone had tweeted at me, ugh, I guess I'm done with the Horde. I may not even want to play this expansion. I was just like, well, what got data mined now? And I went and I looked and I went, yep, that sucks. And but at the same time, I follow a lot of Blizzard people. I follow Blizzard story people. I hear them talking about, how sad they are when data mines go off and that sometimes it's not true and how hard it is to keep the story secret and, stuff like that. And I think, okay, they should be given the opportunity to tell their story. So I see both sides. And it's a difficult place to be in, especially for this expansion, because I'm trying very hard to stay positive about it. But it is difficult when you have NPCs talking to you and saying, yeah, you've got a taste for war and you're good at it. And I'm like, none of my characters are into this. My character wants to go on fun adventures and fight real evil and do battle with the Legion and old gods and monsters and all of that. I don't want to fight the Alliance. And when you throw in the quest text, how much I clearly love war, that really takes me out of the game. Alliance. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Draven Dresden did say in the chat room that Blizzard has outright stated that Battle for Azeroth data mining is going to have a lot of fake stuff.
Yes.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy about that.
I'm extremely excited about that.
Be great if the beta had a lot of fake stuff too.
Oh goodness. I think.
Oh, go ahead.
No, people have mentioned Raytheon, and he was kind of my first thought because we had this grand exit of him and Anduin in Mist, and then that was it. Poof, Raytheon's kind of gone, doing whatever dragon things do. So that story, I feel like it hasn't closed yet. Maybe I'm dreaming, but
Oh, I'm with you. I don't think it has
I
either.
don't think it has. But here we are, two expansions out, and it's like, well, I remember this little dragon getting kind of mad at me and shooing off to go do dragony stuff.
Yeah,
When's
and
he coming back?
I mean, apparently that dragony stuff was to go to Admiral Taylor's garrison in Draenor and just be mentioned.
And
Yeah.
look in the windows.
Yeah. Hey guys, what's going on? You doing stuff here? Oh, you're all dying. Bye.
Okay, I gotta go now.
I don't like speaks like Napoleon Dynamite now, but
Having been on the show a couple times, we talked about a few things. You guys have been playing WoW longer than I have, but I'm still having come in and Wrath. I'm learning that I'm now an old WoW player. I mean, it's kind of grouped now. Like you're old. I think that the magic is kind of gone. Like we know the predictability. Like they just said, previous end bosses were going to come together. Like unless they throw something out of the park, it doesn't matter what the end boss is going to be. The Horde and Alliance are going to have to come together to fight it to save Azeroth. Like unless they completely throw something out and do something crazy that brings that spark back, the story's going to be the same. It's just different characters.
yeah,
And I don't want it to be.
But I mean, we've had the same story of so and so falls or gets corrupted, it's a common theme and everything. And for as much as people think that it may have happened, Garrosh was never corrupted, and that's one of the reasons why I still find him to be a very compelling villain. It's one of the reasons why I like him so much. And having the time to kind of go through, build him up into something over the course of a couple of expansions and everything added so much more depth to his story, to the WoW story in general. And like Horde versus Alliance at that point made sense based off of what the Horde leader was actually doing.
Yeah.
With what happened afterwards with that, with Vol'jin and everything, and then kind of like the tenuous peace happening, and then Warlords of Draenor happened, which were we even fighting the Alliance other than just like superficial things? Or were the Horde and Alliance fighting? I mean, sorry to speak for everybody as if they're Horde.
I don't think we haven't really fought since, like we've done superficial things. Like you said in Mist, we were like getting each other's lands, and you had the whole like the expansion where we were over here and you were over here and we were fighting for stuff.
Yeah, like it's actual fighting.
Yeah, there hasn't been. It's always, this big bad boss we need to put aside. Like Khadgar has been around for God knows how long, telling us to just shut the F up and fight with each other to go get a legendary thing that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
My opinion with the Horde versus Alliance is it either needs to go all out. Like there is no turning back. We are not friends anymore. We are going to fight on a world level where we're taking, like one day Stranglethorn Vale may be controlled by the Horde and you get enough people in there and now it's controlled by the Alliance. I don't think they could do that. That would be difficult. It would turn people off the game.
The entire game is a battle zone.
Yeah. Or we just need to realize we're different sides of the same coin and just stop this stupid back and forth thing that they're trying to do.
I think part of the problem is in a lot of ways it's sort of like M. Night Shyamalan movies. Like you got that first time where it's like, oh man, what a cool surprise and a cool twist. And then when you start expecting it, it becomes A, harder to surprise people. And B, it becomes, like the surprises aren't very good. And I kind of wish Blizzard would settle into maybe trying to be a little less surprising with their storytelling and just a little bit more open-ended and reliable. Like, I think WoW can be such a restrictive game at times that just opening up and making it a cool world, to me, is more interesting than, we got a really surprising story. There's going to be an awesome twist in it, or, the story's going to really go places. Like, I'd rather have a playground that's more fun to play in, that tells many smaller, unique, fun stories, than have them have to up the scale and the stakes so high that it just kind of becomes uninteresting to me almost, because it's like, well, we've been here before. It feels like we've constantly been here. And I kind of feel like to some degree that's where where they're at the moment. Is it
Yeah.
feels like they're trying very hard to capture lightning in a bottle and surprise us with something again. Like, I would actually say going back to Wrathgate. I think that was
Oh
the
yeah.
last time where the story actually was just like a gut punch and just like,
Oh my
oh my
goodness.
gosh, what just happened?
I remember that.
Yeah.
That
Well, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say that I remember like going through ICC and the Horde and Alliance coming together because the death of Seraphine.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Like that was like, what is happening? Like we don't come together. Like that was a moment where I'm just like, huh, they're changing things. And ever since then it's just been like take off the skin and put on a new one.
Yeah. And I mean, something else too is that, at least from, I don't know, I guess from Pandaria, it feels like we've been playing the same story.
Yes.
So, because we've had, okay, Garrosh is the link between, Mist of Pandaria and then Warlords of Draenor. And then Gul'dan is the link between Warlords of Draenor and Legion. And it's like we've just kind of been pushing and following and being dragged along with this whole thing. Like it seemed like there was a time where expansions were, for lack of a better word, like a standalone, like, I don't know, like if
BC didn't link to Wrath.
yeah. Let me liken it to Star Trek Enterprise. The first season of that TV show was like every other Star Trek episode almost, where it's like, okay, single episode gets resolved in an hour. Single episode gets resolved in an hour. Second season hits, and then it's just one long continuous story that started to drag and get really boring, and I didn't give a crap, and I stopped watching the show. And like early in World of Warcraft, it really feels like they were, just the story plot in an expansion. And since it's kind of been pushing us and carrying us along and everything, it seems like Legion is a really good place to stop. And then, sorry if you haven't finished Antorus yet, but a big giant sword gets stuck in Azeroth.
Yep, we're carrying over to the next expansion.
That's moving right to the next expansion. And while, the content of each expansion has changed, it's still, kind of pushing along the same storyline and everything, which, while in some cases that's really good, but then when you have like, dangling plot threads out there, like where is Wrathion? What's going on with that?
Yep.
Or, okay, Sylvanas and Greymane are fighting in one zone, and then that's all we see of them for the entire expansion. Like little things like that. It leaves it open to be just kind of, unsatisfying, whereas you have a really good, tight story compacted into one section. Like Wrath was very good about that. It had entirely everything to do with Arthas. You go through, you learn more about him, you fight him, you defeat him, and then it's the end of Wrath.
Well, I think Sylvanas Greymane is a perfect example because, anybody who's listened to us talk about, our Legion thoughts knows that, like, that was the story I was most into during Legion. I was like, oh, I want so much more of that. And I kept thinking, like, okay, well, we're going to get to a patch that addresses it. And then it eventually became clear, okay, well, we're not going to address it this expansion. And it went from the thing I was most interested in to now you would think, oh, Battle for Azeroth, Horde versus Alliance, it's Sylvanas versus Anduin, but, now the story has turned and focused on Sylvanas versus Greymane or the Alliance. And so John should be way into that. And it turns out the opposite happened because I was interested in that story, in the context and the setting and the scale that it was. And now that it has blown up into this thing where it's got to be the entire faction's got to be on board and everybody has to get pulled in and it's not just your own personal adventure. All of a sudden it went from something I was super into and super excited about to a storyline that now I'm not that interested in and am actually very worried about. And I think that, again, is the problem with the idea of introducing dangling threads that you then turn into entire arcs, is that if you're going to turn it into an entire arc, you're telling everybody they have to come along with that. I know I'm a ridiculous Sylvanas fanboy. That doesn't mean everybody needs to be. That means that just I'm happy to get my story where I can get it. I'd like to see resolution, but it doesn't mean that that should be everybody's story. And I look at something like what they did with Hearthstone. I think some of the most interesting and compelling World of Warcraft stories are happening in Hearthstone. Like, I know we've talked about this before, but when I watch a trailer for a new Hearthstone expansion,
Oh my goodness.
I want to play in that world. And then I remember that's where we play, but it doesn't feel like that. Like, but the idea of, oh, this goblin town, you know, it flooded and then it became a trade hub and now it's a giant city and now it's got crime all over it and a bunch of shady characters and it's the sleaziest city in Azeroth. Like, that's super cool. That's a tiny, probably not an entire expansion built around it, but
Not
that's
a patch.
yeah, that's a patch or a zone that I would be super into and find super fun. Witchwood is a super cool idea, which actually it's funny, Bim literally just said this as I was thinking it. We're actually getting some of that with Coltiris because we're getting a lot of that like gothic horror elements into
I'm
it.
so excited.
Of the player bases.
Well, we'll get there eventually.
I know, but I'm just, yeah, adding a little bit to it.
But I mean, I do agree. Like, to me, that's the area I'm most interested in. And then I look at the troll areas and I'm like, I like trolls, but man, gothic horror is so freaking cool. But it did help me decide that hands down, I'm creating a Coltiran druid. Like, I'm sorry, their druid forms are the coolest things in the game.
It is true.
I thought I would be all about the Zandalari druid forms because they're dinosaurs. But it turns out they're weird-ass dinosaurs. And the alternative is cool gothic horror monsters, and I'm 100% about that. So
Yeah.
that's where I'm going to be.
Let me pose this to both of you. So, you know, there's always the really snarky idea of, oh, well, you want a single-player story in an MMO? Yeah, we're not even looking at it that way because that's just like... That's an annoying person asking a question. So we are playing an MMO.
Yes.
But the questing experience has definitely turned into a single player experience. There just happen to be other people there. To do more of the you know, the massively multiplayer stuff, it is more, you know, things like battlegrounds or arenas or raids and things like that. So should they really be focusing on, you know, more intimate stories? Like John said, the Greymane Sylvanas stuff, that was all entirely single player driven, and blowing it up into an entire expansion, you know, kind of ruined the thread for him. So should they kind of have an overarching, like, kind of concept, but, you know, keep a lot of the main storytelling, like, really into a single player focused kind of mentality, which, as I'm saying that, it feels like, oh, Ben, they already do that. Why are you even talking about this? Because, you know, you're the one hero who's going through and doing everything. But, like, would they be able to tell the same sort of story, but give us the intimate experience as well as the overarching plot?
I think Blizzard is focusing on a lot in WoW right now, and it takes away from everything that they do. Like, when we were talking about that goblin town, like, if that was there, imagine walking through and every now and then a goblin, like, rushes by you and all of a sudden you're short, like, 30 copper.
Oh, that'd be great.
Like, because it's just, that's part of it. Like, I think they can keep... People like that single story. People like being able to go in, zone in, and be like, I'm going to do these quests. I'm going to see the dragon die. I'm going to see... Sorry if I spoiled it, but the expansion's been out for a while, guys. I'm going to see all this stuff happen. And then I can get to the point where I need other people. Like, you need people to kill some of those world bosses. Like, you just do, and that can add to the story. I think if they focused more on that single player content aspect, yes, they do a good job. Yay, I got a legendary. Yay, I went through scenarios. I got 3 of them, 2 of them collecting dust, but I got them. And just added these little interactions, it could step it up in a big way, where those who zone in, rush through, yay, I'm going on my raid team, they're not going to care. They're not even probably going to notice that they're short 30 copper. But someone who's walking through this goblin town is like, this is cool. Wait a second. What's going on here? Like, you can even add a debuff, so, like, you just been pickpocketed 30 minutes, can't be pickpocketed again, so people don't lose that much. But I think that...
They AFK'd in the town, and they're just like, I'm broke! What happened?
Then you need to actually
deposit
your money in the bank and then see what happens.
Which I think we should do anyway, but that's another rant for the time. I think that if they they don't want to admit that that's what that is, that we are a single story MMO where you do have other people, you get to interact. Like you get to go help 40s kill something real quick and then bounce because you just wanted this gold mine. And so you're just like, all right, peace out. I helped you with that. But I think if they admitted it is an MMO where we are all hanging out, but it is single story focused, they could focus on that. And then that content that you want, where you can see Sylvanas and Greymane, or you can go hang out in a town and there's these interactions that are personal or intimate, can happen. I don't know if they'll do that, but
No, I think you're spot on. I'm a firm believer that like they can tell some really cool and compelling stories in WoW, and this is not meant to be a me dogging on the story team at
Oh,
Blizzard.
the story team's fantastic.
oh, it is amazing.
But I'm gonna say the players in MMOs, the strength of MMOs is that the players will always be the best storytellers if you give them the ability to. And that's the problem. You can craft such a perfect world and a perfect experience, but more often than not, it's the stories of the things that didn't adhere to that we as players tell each other. You know, I'm not going to tell you guys about the time, like, guys, you won't believe this. Sylvanas was in Helheim and trying to get a lantern to create more undead. Can you believe that? I found that. That was me. Because everybody else is going to go, yeah, that was all of us.
We all found
That was all our story. But I will tell you guys about the time that my friend and I accidentally murdered an Alliance guy, and then we panicked because somebody else saw us do it, and we felt the need to murder him so there could be no witnesses. And it turned into like a Coen Brothers movie while playing World of Warcraft. That's an experience that other people might be able to relate to, but they haven't had the exact same experience. And I think it's important that Blizzard finds ways to make the world fun and unique and random and unexpected enough to allow these stories to blossom and exist. And when I try to think back of these stories, most of them are from the early days of WoW, Vanilla, Burning Crusade, leaking in a little bit into Lich King. Or if they were in later parts of the game, it was frequently because of bugs that sprung up. You know, Ben and I, just a couple episodes ago, we were showing the picture of mounts standing on top of mounts, standing on top of mounts. That was a bug. But of course, it's a fun story to tell people because it's awesome and it's crazy and it's cool. It's a bunch of mounts standing on top of each other. So I think it's important, not that MMOs are broken, but that they're open and allow players to tell and create their own stories. And when it becomes too linear, as good as your story content may be, you're not making anything that's going to be as insanely memorable as what players can put together themselves.
So do you think that, and I mean, this is definitely just pure conjecture. This is probably never going to happen. But do you think that if WoW had more of like a sandbox feel along with all the different stories and everything like that, that it would, you know, harbor and like generate more of these stories? I mean, think about all the different random things that you know about Skyrim or stories about Skyrim and stuff.
God.
Or think about how popular Breath of the Wild was with people just doing insane things because of the way that the world interacted around them. Like, do you think that World of Warcraft just limits us to kind of, you know, following, okay, here's the questing path, or here's the mining path, or, you know, whichever you want to do, just because it isn't as open world as, I don't know, maybe some other MMOs or just other games are?
I can definitely see that. I think you don't even have to go full crazy open world though. Because I was just sitting here thinking about it and I was like, man, you know what game I get really excited to talk about and share stories with, and that's Old Republic. As far as an MMO goes.
Okay.
And of course EverQuest back in the day. But like looking at Old Republic, I was like, that game's kind of a linear game. Why do I get so excited to share stories about that? And it's because, once again, you make choices in that game. And that, yeah, if I play a Sith Lord and you play a Sith Lord, we're going to have a similar experience, but there's still a pretty good chance that if it's like, well, how did you deal with, the master who turned on you or whatever, and you were like, well, I came in and I negotiated with him, and he ended up, killing himself. Be like, oh, that's crazy. That's not what happened to me at all. I went in there and force choked him and threw him around the room and, treated him like a little rag doll. Like, we now have a similar experience, but we have two different methods of approaching it. And that's not as crazy as open world, millions of different possibilities, and the game's probably broken, but it's enough to where you're excited to share stories with one another.
We had one of the episodes I was on, we had kind of talked about this a little bit, having non-important quest where you could make a choice and that could impact other choices down the road.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if they had some of that, because there are some quests where I think it was like a silly choice that you could make, and it didn't matter though. Like, it was just you picked a answer and that was it. You moved on. This was like, oh, this might have been revamped once they've done all their little like updates and patches. So who knows what it's at now. But I think if they added things where at the end of the day, the main quest was the same. You did X, Y, Z. You got to the raid. We're killing the boss. But these side quests could be more. You chose to, save the girl's little teddy bear, and then that created a quest down the road where her family found out about it, so they're going to help you with something. Or you didn't, so down the road, the family's like, screw you, like, we're attacking you now.
Yeah.
That's
Like maybe
really silly, but
adding extra difficulty during something, like all of a sudden, okay, go with me on this. Gadget Zan is now a big, giant, crime-riddled city because I still love this idea and I want to go there. Except you get to choose two different ways of playing a faction. Either you help the mob and, kind of make sure that like a certain mob family or something takes over the crime in the city and everything, or you work on busting it. And
Ooh.
I mean, the story or maybe the phasing or something like completely goes along with it and stuff like that. It's just a small, tiny little corner of WoW. So even, your final outcome isn't going to make a massive change. And even if it does, there's always the, oh, well, let's say you go with the whole idea of busting the mob. There's always going to be the mob there. You can't stop organized crime. It's just there. So the people who went with the mob still have like, their whole spiel and all that stuff that's going on. Whereas like if you go with the mob, yeah, you totally have, like crooked cops running around and stuff like that. So the lawful person thinks that, oh, see, I totally won. So you have, again, that illusion of, difference between the two or something, which is, what matters at that point. But I love the idea of just, the choice and stuff, even if it's in kind of like a little minute area, just to give that, open experience and stuff.
There is so much world that I don't go back to because I've leveled and done that they could open up to these new, I don't want to call them quests, but storylines where you can go back and choose to, like I think there was someone had enslaved goblins to cut trees or something, or maybe they're not enslaved, maybe they enslaved something else. The goblins did the enslaving, but you could go in and decide to like, I'm just going to leave this be. And so now when you go there, the goblins give you free wood for something. I don't know. I don't want to go back to needing wood because that was a terrible expansion. But the goblins, and if you choose to bust them up, the villagers give you like free health pots, like just these little things where now, and the rewards can't be grand. Like you can't make them grand, otherwise people are going to complain. But you could have these little, just you pick this, and because of this, now you get this cool little extra health pot. Not wood. Never wood. I don't want to do that again.
Never be one.
Resources, yes. Oh.
I just think it's important that players have different experiences, and I think we see Blizzard saying like, okay, well, Horde and Alliance are going to have different experiences, and I'm not sure if that's trying to, Legion had different experiences for the classes, which made your class feel special. So I'm not sure if this is them trying to do that for factions, or if this is them trying to give people the encouragement to try both factions. Maybe it's a little bit of both, but I don't know. To me, it's just not quite the same thing. They haven't given me a reason lately to have faction pride. So trying to sell me on faction pride is weird because it's like, well, you just gave me Legion, which story was the factions can't see eye to eye well enough to deal with the Legion, so you're going down to a class level. And now all of a sudden it's like, no, but now we're about the factions again. And I just don't see it. The connection isn't made in my brain. And that's weird to me.
So I'm playing Mass Effect. I've gotten to Mass Effect 2 now, guys.
Hey, nice.
And I'm still doing Renegade. But the choices in Mass Effect 2 that I make affect my appearance. Like, I have red eyes now, and I have these red scars everywhere. And the Edie, who I don't trust, is like, because of your choices, your thing's not healing. And if you want them to heal properly, make good choices. And I like flip her off and go like punch a kid or something. But if things like that, like, okay, so I'm a hunter night elf. I go into a place, and because of my choice, whether it's good or bad, something happens. Like, now I have a scar, or now this faction sees night elf hunters bad, so anytime I walk into there something, they boo and they throw things at me or whatever. But if we could have that individualization, it would just add this level to the game that's not going to affect the raid. It's not going to affect Method from going and beating everything again and winning, or whoever it is. Is that who's still on top? Is it Method?
Sure.
I don't know. That is a aspect of the game that I have never cared about.
But it's just, I want them to do this now. Now, Blizzard, are you in here? Like, where are you at? Make this happen.
They're in a bunker. They're writing a story. But no, I agree. Like, it'd be super cool if, like, just flavor text. I'm walking through Orgrimmar and people are like, that's the person who tipped off the Alliance about the raid. Get out of here. Or maybe even some NPC decides to fight you and you just gets hostile with you. And it's like, it's not going to be a fight that kills you. Just all of a sudden someone tries to jump you and it's like...
Or like get shoved, or you can't use the bank because, or like one of the banks because you...
It's a goblin-run bank or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, like some consequence to your choices and actions would be fun, would be interesting, especially because they could very much even do it multiple within a faction. It could be who's loyal to Sylvanas, who's loyal. Like, I don't want to get into spoiler territory, so let's talk about what happened in the past with Garrosh. They could have literally done a story where if you were more loyal to Garrosh and you were trying to put on the brave face and be like, no, the Horde's right, the Horde's right. Maybe Orgrimmar is more open to you and more welcoming to you and all of that. But if you were more supportive of Vol'jin and things like that, you go into the one bank and they're like, we've been ordered not to help you. You're going to have to go up to the slums if you want to get service, like stuff like that. It feels good to have consequence exist in your game to some degree. And once again, it also makes for an individual experience because as long as they're doing choice correctly and it's not everybody's picking the same thing because it feels obvious, Ben and I could potentially be talking about WoW and not saying, hey, we had exactly the same experience this week, just like the week before. We could be talking about, oh man, did you see this? No, I did this and this is what happened. And oh, that's crazy. That's cool.
Yeah. Well, so, okay. A really cool thing that could have happened, but it would have totally broken the game for a lot of people. I feel like this is happening a lot, actually. But there could be ways around it. So remember back in Mists of Pandaria where the Horde was, kicked out of Dalaran?
Oh God, yeah.
It was one quest, first of all, the 5.1 quest line was absolutely great on both sides. It's still one of the coolest patch stuff that's been put in my opinion. I loved it. And after playing through it on both sides and multiple times and stuff, you see different facets of it and everything. Well, the big thing for the Horde is that, yeah, they were kicked out and you had to actually, have a quest of going in and trying to help people escape and flee from the city, which was really cool. But then all of a sudden you're done with that quest. And then as a mage, I can just teleport right back in. And then I'm just in Dalaran again. And, I'm a Horde mage, who was kicked out, who's just walking the streets and everything's fine. There
It's
could have been something that, we could have done. Like maybe we were stuck and relegated to the sewers, or that's where we were hiding. And, they had like, small sections set up, or because like right now, a big section of the sewers is actually, the Rogue Order Hall. Imagine if that had started off as this is where the Horde is holed up in Dalaran because it's the only safe place.
It's sort of like what we talked about with Val'sharah. Wait, that's the name, right? Vashir.
Yeah.
No, Vashir.
Yeah, Vashir, yeah.
Where Vashir, everybody, every time I defend it, a couple people come out and are like, I like Vashir too. And to those people, thank you. It's awesome. I agree with you. But most of the time we hear a lot of people like, oh, that zone sucks. But the story of that zone is so cool. You're trapped underwater. How are you going to get out? It's a struggle for survival. Like, we got to find a way to get more air. We got to find a way to get people. We got to find a way to move. But you're right. There's this break in immersion where it's like, or I can click my Hearthstone.
And see you later.
And now I'm back in Orgrimmar. We should all click our Hearthstones together and we'll be fine. And so there is that element of, what do you sacrifice for story, versus playability? Because, that zone's a big, long zone. And granted, if they were going to do something bold like that, they could have cut that zone by a third. I'd argue maybe they should have done that anyway. That zone does go on way too long. But
It's is literally
it's 3 zones.
Yeah. It could have been just the one. Or at least, as much as I liked the, what was she, the handmaiden? Like,
Yeah.
As much as I liked that story, it
It could have
felt
been gone.
completely trivial.
Mhm.
And
It's like,
it just kept
so
going.
much
And
about
it's so
Shara
long.
Yeah.
and have absolutely nothing to do with anything.
Yeah.
So long.
That zone, if it had been trimmed, I think people would have liked it better. Except for people who got sick or, couldn't deal with underwater elements. Probably wouldn't have changed their mind. But
Hey,
I
the
do...
seahorse mount was cool.
The what?
The seahorse mount was pretty cool.
Seahorse
Yes.
was cool. Zipping through those underwater tunnels with stuff swimming past you. Like, that, all that stuff was cool. It just
Running along the bottom, pretty cool.
just went too long.
Like, look,
It just
I'm on-
overstayed its welcome, that's all.
I think Blizzard right now is focused on get players to the end game. So you have these cool little quests occasionally that pop up where you're like, I want more of the, oh, nope, wait, back to new zone now, like we're done. If they focus more on those little quests, we're going to get to the end game eventually. Like we are. And maybe it's because we've been around for a while. I don't really care about raiding anymore. I'll LFR and see the story.
Mhm.
Like, okay, I'll see the story. That's all I care about. And then I want to go back to the world, but I've done everything. So it's like, well, wait till the next patch comes out. Like,
Yeah.
there's really nothing. I think if they stop focusing so much on let's get to the end game, they could play these little stories in there, and it wouldn't take away from those that want to keep going to just raid, but it would add so much more to those of us who are like, yeah, we know how the story's going to play out. Like, been there, done that.
Yeah. So, okay. For Battle for Azeroth, there are 3 possibilities for how this ends.
Okay.
Well, wait, are there 3?
There's 3.
Are these Ben's 3 or are these 3?
No, these are 3. There's only
Okay.
3 ways that this could end.
I think this is Ben's 3. I'm going to say it now on record so
Okay.
that when it ends in a way that is not one of the 3 Ben is about to name, I can say, yep, told you it was Ben's 3. Go on, Ben.
Way number 1, the Alliance wins
Okay.
the Battle for Azeroth. Way number 2, the Horde wins the
Bold.
Battle for Azeroth.
It's a bold take.
Way number 3, the Horde and Alliance team up to fight something for Azeroth, and it is literally the battle for Azeroth.
I don't know.
Those are the 3 ways it ends.
It's a scary commitment you've made for yourself, Ben.
Those are very broad. I think you're right. I'm going to say that, yeah, that's probably...
If it's something different than those, then they get their M. Night Shyamalan moments, and I am surprised.
Guys,
See,
I think it ends when we get a new expansion after this one.
Yeah. I think I have thought of a we all lose scenario, which could happen, but then I just don't. That's like the end of WoW, I feel like, or it goes to WoW 2.0 that everyone keeps talking about.
Let's go to space.
Done.
Yes.
Done. We all get spaceships. We have to fly. Good luck.
Planet
'Cause-
hopping.
I've done Elite Dangerous, and those are not easy to fly. I do not do well.
I still
Does
want
not
my
happen.
freaking boat expansion. This should have been it.
It should have. It really should have.
Oh, okay. So boat expansion. This is how it starts. Someone takes a map, looks at it, then looks at a ball, looks back at the map, wraps the map around the ball, and sees that it's only covering half of the ball, and say, "Wait a minute!" And then we get a whole other set of continents because it's on the other side of the world.
Other side of the world.
I mean, like you joke, but I do think that there is a good chance at some point Blizzard's like,
will happen.
I don't know. I guess they've only seen half the world.
They can only add so much in the middle. Like, we're running out of space in that middle.
Mm-hmm.
Technically, I just want to point out, technically possible. Because if I'm in Kalimdor and it's night, and I go to the Eastern Kingdoms, it's night.
Yep.
That is true. I have done that. You are right.
So I'm just going to say that's not a spherical world. That's either a flat world or half a world.
Yeah.
It has to be. It has to be half a world because you'll see the sun on the horizon. Like, we're not going to get flat Earth here. We're going to move on.
Yeah.
No. This is flat Azeroth. Something
Flat Azeroth.
Flat
Different,
Azeroth.
completely different.
totally different. Well,
Um,
and you never see the boats traveling from going off the map
way.
to the other
No.
side. So maybe they just haven't gone that way.
Yeah, if you're
Perhaps
on
it's the Eastern Kingdoms.
if you're on the eastern side
It goes.
of Eastern Kingdoms, you fly to the west and then across the sea and then into Kalimdor. You don't just go what would theoretically be the shorter distance the other
Yeah.
way.
What do you think would be on the other side, though? Like, now that's in my head.
Just a man.
Just a man.
Just on a
Face just whoop.
just
Maybe.
on an island.
We're on the top of, like, Azeroth's head, and it's just his body. So it's like his
I can
crown.
see
It's got a
So,
whole
like, the
Atlas
sword
thing
sticking
going.
out right here.
Yeah.
Like it right in the face. That's actually really interesting.
That's how it's going to happen. The ridiculous thing. That's what Blizzard's going to do.
I'm just saying, like, everybody get ready for the other half of Azeroth, because Ben's not wrong. Like, there's a good chance that, like, you make the case, what's on the other side?
It is true. None of the boats go the logical way. They don't.
Now I kind of want to see this happen next expansion.
Two continents.
This is what happens. We find out, oh, there's more continents. Well, we have to fight the Horde and Alliance over there now because obviously they're going to get it first, and that's more land.
Yeah.
God.
I mean, considering Battle for Azeroth is essentially the 80s sitcom of, two roommates in an apartment putting tape down the center of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, it really is.
It is. It absolutely is. But what happens if they both need to use the swirly bit? Yeah, the maelstrom. I couldn't think of its name.
Is that just sucking up the tape, though? They're just using all their tape. They keep having to put it down.
Yeah, they haven't figured that part out yet, so they're trying to keep it above the whirlpool.
It's like when you put toilet paper in a flushing toilet.
Oh
It
my
just
God.
keeps disappearing. Meanwhile, everybody down in Deep Home is just like, gosh dang it, they're doing it again.
Come on! You go in there in Battle for Azeroth, there's just this giant pile of tape that just keeps spooling and falling down. Oh my gosh, I kind of want to see this now.
Yeah. Do you think, though, that there can ever be a time in WoW when they give up the Horde versus Alliance and we just admit our differences but move forward?
I mean, I hope that's what this is. I mean,
Yeah.
I hope this is them saying,
I thought that's what that was last time, but
I mean, yeah, but I hope this is them saying, like, okay, people have criticized that it's always, we hate each other, now we gotta work together, now we gotta go fight the thing, now we hate each other. Like, we need to end that, and someone was like, yeah, but if we're gonna end it, shouldn't we just have one full knockdown, drag-out fight between the two of them before we say we're done? And they went, yeah, we should, and this is what we're getting. That's my
I
hope.
hope you're right.
So,
Like, I mean, the thing is that because they're trying to play as much of this as close to the vest as possible, I really think that there could be some massively surprising and cool things that come. And I mean, that's what I'm hoping for, especially for that last patch, whatever it may be. Like, if one of the factions actually wins, then I'm going to be really interested to see how that's going to play out for the expansion after that. Because if it does come to, okay, the Alliance wins, well, how the heck are the Horde going to be treated? Like, they can't just be all, okay, well, we're killing every member of the Horde. They're not going to do mass genocide because that totally turns off half the player base, of course.
And also, Blizzard isn't willing to make the Alliance the bad guys ever.
Yeah, there's that too.
No, we're not. My fear, although I have heard that WoW or Blizzard has expansions set up, like they're always planning for the next one.
Mm-hmm.
So like they already know what's happening after Basil of Azeroth, and they're planning for the one after that. But my fear is that we're coming to the end of WoW, at least as we know it. And that maybe not this one, but one of the expansions is going to end with all the leaders dying for whatever reason, whether they're controlled by old gods, they get taken out, and the end scene is them going, hero, it's your turn to turn this world into what it should be, and then cut, and that's it. Like, now you're done with the game.
Then we get the new Candy Crush, and it's a Azeroth themed Candy Crush.
I think they have a few million too many subscribers for them to
do
call
that.
it quits
I know.
yet.
That is, every time they do this Horde versus Alliance, I'm just like, you've killed so many Horde leaders. The Alliance finally lost one after, like, you guys lost 6, but like,
very true.
It's very true. I don't know what they can do. Like, they have to pull something out of their hat that we haven't seen, which is probably why I can't think of it, because otherwise it's just the same story. And
What
I don't
if
know.
all of the Alliance leaders turned into diamond people?
Well, we had one of those.
You have one.
But what if you had more?
We just stored them in Ironforge again. They just go down to that secret vault.
The worth of the Alliance leadership is quite high.
I don't know why it popped into my head, but just a scene of a guy like walking out of a shop in Stormwind, like with a stack of bills, and Magni looking out of a barred window of a pawn shop going, no.
Oh, God.
They just pawned him off. They were just like, that's hard times for the Alliance. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Magni. I need you to come with me.
Would that be better, or like if they just cut off a finger, then go and sell that?
God.
We need a piece of you, Magni. Stormwind is falling on hard times. We built that sweet park. It's not free.
It is a pretty sweet
And
park.
don't forget the giant statue of Varian that he commissioned while he was still alive.
The old park was better, but
I don't remember the old park at all.
it was not. It was just like it was like the quiet little section of it. Like, no one went there. There were some trees, some flowers, or some buildings. I don't think I ever went in any of them, but it was quiet. We held a wedding there. This was way back in the old days, guys. You found really interesting ways to entertain yourself.
Oh, definitely.
I remember the days of MMO weddings. It was always fun. You always heard about them.
I remember, in Final Fantasy XI, you actually had to like sign up and pay for those.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah, they were a big deal in there.
We had a guy in our server whose name was Armani, and he made bank selling tailored suits on the auction house. Like, they went for, at the time, like things like suits going for 5,000 gold. You were just like, what the heck? Like, but the people that got married bought everybody the Armani made dresses and suits and whatever.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
This is really geeky, I'm realizing.
No,
but
that's
that was
super
a
good.
big
Fantastic. If you can say I have an Armani suit in WoW and you link it and it's made by Armani, that is fantastic.
Yeah.
And freaking creative.
Once again, though, like, I think that's a perfect story to bring up because that's a unique experience. That's not something Blizzard programmed.
No.
That's something that's just capable within the game. And I think that kind of goes back to, like, like I said, I think that's the strength of the MMO is not knowing what's going to happen and letting people interact and who knows what they're going to do, with the world that they're given. So I don't know. I'm curious to see where we go, where we're gonna end up. I don't know. I try to avoid spoilers, but I'm doing a very bad job of it. So
Yeah.
I'm avoiding them so far. It is great. I have no idea what's happening.
I do have to throw in really quick. One of my favorite names that I saw that was creative, having to do with some sort of in-game thing was when they added the Explorer title. I
Yes.
saw Adora the Explorer, and I was just so giddy. I'm like, that's funny. You did good.
you picked your name well, small one.
Exactly.
I wish there was more sandboxy things for experiences like that to happen naturally, because everyone just hangs out in well, it used to be your garrison. Now it's your class hall or Dalaran. I don't know where we'll be next expansion, but it's somewhere that everyone will just be like, yo, this is home.
Mm-hmm.
But if we could push people, like just push them off of Dalaran and tell them to go.
Or
Fly,
go to
little bird, fly.
Sand. Man, I want that new gadget sand now.
I do too. Like, come pocket me. I don't care. I'll lose 20 gold just sitting there being like, they stole my money. You can have a chance to run after them and catch it too. Like this could be a thing, but like, let's talk.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Let's
It'd
talk.
be great. I'd love to pull the, like, I'm a rogue in the town and, like, they come up to pickpocket me and just real quick press the button, whip out the pistol and shoot them as they're trying to run away and just, I'll take my money back. Thank you very much.
But it's not a real gun. You have like I want to say pellet gun, but it have to be something else in Azeroth. So you don't kill them, but you hurt them.
Yeah, or even if it's a rogue, then when they come by, there's an animation of you just grabbing their hand and like pushing them away.
Yeah.
Because you just know that's what's going.
That's the shit I loved about Legion. Oh, it was so cool. You felt like you were your class. It was like there's a part in Legion where as a rogue in Val'sharah, I know I've said that twice as a zone now. This time I mean it as the zone that it is.
Is it nightmarish or underwater?
It was wait, hold on. No, it wasn't Val'sharah. What's it called? Azuna. That's it.
Azuna, yep.
Okay.
So completely wrong.
Every zone is Val'sharah to me. No, it was Azuna. So there's a little beach with a bunch of pirates down there.
Oh yeah.
Well, if you're a rogue and you go down there, they start talking to you and kind of hassling you, and you can show them your coin that you have to gain access to the Rogue Order Hall, and they completely change their demeanor to you and how they interact with you.
Cool.
It's
awesome.
Awesome. There is weird stuff like that all over Legion that I just adored. And, everything from as a warrior walking around, and all of a sudden, one of the giant dudes would just be like, you, come here, let me see that weapon. And then just being like, oh, that's from Odin himself, and getting all giddy about it. Like, just moments like that were so cool because it just made you feel like you were your class. And I really do hope that they capture some of that with Battle for Azeroth and maybe feeling that way about your faction. But I mean, I don't identify by my faction. I identify by my class first.
Yeah.
Faction a distant second because they've done such a bad job convincing me I should like my faction. They've spent since Lich King trying to convince me my faction sucks, and I'm finally starting to drink the Kool-Aid on that. And now they're like, but don't you love your faction? And I'm like, no. You guys have been convincing me my faction sucks for like a bunch of expansions now. I'm not that into it.
You can't have nice things.
You drank the blue Kool-Aid.
Yeah, like I was literally fighting against them just a couple of expansions ago. I'm not into it right now.
Yeah.
So,
well, okay. What if they gave Orgrimmar a lazy river?
Oh my god. That would be so cool.
Yeah, I'm totally back in if they give Orgrimmar a lazy river.
But it only made sense when Vol'jin was the leader because he's the kind of cool person who would give us a lazy river.
I know, and I mean,
does Sylvanas care about Orgrimmar though? You could probably do it without her knowing.
Actually, that's not 100% true because technically the Undercity has a lazy river already. So her putting one there in Orgrimmar would technically be in character.
There we go.
I think there's tons of ways they can tailor the player experience to make it a more immersive game without sacrificing the end result. And people would love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. That's the lesson of the day. Now,
And don't drink blue things.
Exactly.
I refuse. I'm going to drink this Badger Blast until there's no more Badger left to be blasted.
Okay. And with that, Turarts, thank you very much for joining us. It has been an absolute pleasure talking to you.
This has been a good one. It's been good conversation. I'm excited to see. WoW knows what they're doing, and I still drink that Kool-Aid. So I'm going to trust.
Red Kool-Aid, right?
As long as it's red, yes, not blue.
Yes.
As long as it's red. I'm still going to drink that Kool-Aid, and I think they got this.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, after this discussion, I feel better about it, Battle for Azeroth, than I have in the last couple of weeks. And who knows if anything we even talked about is ever going to be in there. But you know what? They know what they're doing, and I'm putting my faith back in them. So I'm really glad you were on the show today.
It was fun. No, thank you guys for having me. I love coming on.
Yay. John, she likes coming on the show.
Great.
Yay.
I'm excited. That's good news.
It is good news.
Just, sorry, that I started that very low key because I was like, yeah, I'm here. I heard it. But then it ended up coming across like, I don't care. But
Well, we know that you don't. But Turarts, until the next time that you're on the show, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Turarts. I do the stream thing Wednesdays, sometimes Fridays, sometimes Saturdays. It depends on the week. At Turarts on Twitch. Yeah, those are the two places I am the most. You can watch me Mass Effect, drink wine, and cuss. So not family friendly. Just a heads up there.
sounds
Or
like a
the
bunch of
friendliest.
good things, actually.
Yes.
So
And we do Renegade, so I cringe a lot, and I go like this a lot. I go, oh God, no, I have to say this.
I don't know how you can do Renegade. I can't do it.
Hard to do.
I'm doing it, and it's
So
hard.
to do.
Oh, Lordy.
And I am really excited for you to play through Mass Effect 2, because damn, that goes places.
It's getting rough. I will say that, but I'm gonna get jiggy with it with Garrus. I have made it my mission. He is gonna be my companion, but I have to do a couple things for him first.
What do you
Okay.
think
Needy.
his skin feels like?
I don't know. That's what I want to find out. It's either him or the fish guy. I can't remember his name. It begins with a T, I think. Thane, Doran. Yeah. Those are the two that I was like, I'm like, Garrus, he's my bae. We've been together since 1. And even though I make all these renegade choices, he goes, are you sure you want to kill these people? I'm like, yeah, let's just do this. And I push him out the window, and he's like, well, I guess they had it coming. And just turns around.
It's
Like, you don't judge me.
Garrus is pretty good. He's got that subtle lisp. It's kind of nice.
And the scar.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. He took a rocket to the side of his face for you.
Oh, my God.
Oh yeah. I will say this. I have played through with a Garrison love interest, or Garrison. Oh, jeez, that'd be the worst.
That's the worst love interest. That's the darkest timeline.
He's just on the ship. Reaper's a bat. Oh wait, no, that's not Mr. Garrison. That's
No,
shoot.
that was Mr. Mackey, which I
Yeah.
wasn't even there. I thought you would just be in love with your Garrison. Like, I love mining every day.
Oh, I'm such a needy companion.
Yeah, no, and so anyways, Garrus as a love interest is a very good story, and I enjoy it. I do have to say that my favorite from 2 is Thane. So when you get a chance, play back through, choose Thane. I really enjoy his as well.
You know what? Y'all need to get more Liara in your life.
Yeah.
See, my husband says Jack, but I think it's because she's kind of a badass. And so he's like, as soon as I saw her, I was like, that's the one. Done.
Well, I mean, everybody knows Fem Shep is best Shep, and
Yes, I love it.
you can't have a Jack relationship. So
She does
Yeah.
not
I will
swing the
I
hand.
will never know, because I will never play a male shepherd.
Yeah, that's why I couldn't end up with Tally, who I would have said is option number 2
Mhm.
after Liara. But y'all need to get more Liara in your life.
They are too.
That's what I say.
John, where can people find you?
Well, no, I'm not going to say that. Should have backpedal on that little transition I was thinking of. It was a comment about Liara. We're not going to go there. Hey, everybody. John here. If you want to find more of what I'm up to, follow me on Twitter at John_Jagger. You can catch me playing D&D tomorrow on the triumphant return of There Will Be Dungeons. After a week hiatus, we're back. We've got big things to deal with. If you're caught up, you know what that means. If not, I'm not going to spoil it for you. But join us. That's at 2 p.m. Pacific time at twitch.tv/frogpants. Or if you say, hey, John, I want to hear you talk about Heroes of the Storm.
Hey, John, I want to hear you talk about Heroes of the Storm.
Great.
Where did you do that at?
Let's talk about it. So Garrosh, the reason I like him is he can throw enemies and allies. He just picks them up and throws them. But there's nothing more rewarding than throwing them over your own wall, and then they just get trapped back there. And then they get shot by a bunch of turrets.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good move. It's a cool move. It's a trolling move. It's a dick move. So it's perfect for Garrosh. What else would you like to know about Heroes of the Storm, Ben?
Is there a place where you talk about it generally?
There is, if you want to hear me talk more about Heroes of the Storm, like just right then, except better. You can catch me on Core.
Core!
Which is the Heroes of the Storm show I do, which is also part of the Frog Pants Network. Find out more about that at heroesforyou.com. That's it for me, Benjamin.
John.
Benjamin over there. Benjamin. Where can people find you jamming online?
Well, the best place to find me is on Twitter. I am at Ben the Mage. That's where I tweet about things.
You're not a mage.
That's where I tweet about things like when, there's a new episode of Battle Pets, which is a show I do with Eludra about battle pets.
You're not a battle pet either.
I also do this show, which you know about, but after, some time needs to pass because some stuff needs to happen, and then I'm probably going to start streaming much, much more. That's later.
Oh, that's super specific, Ben. I like the details that you threw out there. Something needs to happen, and then maybe I might start streaming some more.
Well, that's the thing, is that I'm trying to get people to jump on board so that they'll know when it starts happening again. Or just follow me on Twitter, like I said. Yeah.
Don't worry, guys. It's like Ready Player One. If you achieve some Easter egg goal, Ben will start streaming again.
Yeah, that's how it happens. Exactly. I won't see where or how. It might involve Mass Effect. It might not.
You got to go and get a bunch of battle pets. If you get the right one.
And you name them correctly, and it's the right breed, and you fight things in the right order.
Okay, real quick with battle pets. So the blight, it's something blight. There's different colors of it.
Yeah, the blight breath that drops off the extra side. Yeah.
I didn't know there's different colors. I have a blue one and a green one. I was like, well, I don't want to sell them, but I don't need two of them. But I have a blue one and a green one. Sorry.
Yep, I just picked one.
I thought of you. I was like, there's two colors. I wonder if he knows.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Okay. Sorry.
Thank you, though. I appreciate that. And that is extra bonus information for our audience, and I'm sure they appreciate it, too.
It's the kind of information they can find on Battle Pets.
Yes.
I think.
I'm pretty sure we talked about it at one point. But this show, Azeroth Roundtable. Oh, and also, sorry, I almost forgot. I was on the Epic Fail podcast last week. It was a very fun episode. It might have gone about an extra hour or so. We kind of started talking and didn't stop. There's like a whole big chunk of Marvel talk and stuff too. So
nice, well done.
It was a lot of fun. I had a blast on it. But anyways, this show, Azeroth Roundtable, you can find us on Twitter. We are at AzerothRT. We also have all of our episodes found on AzerothRoundtable.com, as well as on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, all those wonderful podcast places where you podcast.
Good.
Yeah. If you have any questions, comments, want to tell us your theories on how Battle for Azeroth is going to end, you can always send those to AzerothRoundtable@gmail.com. And of course, check us out when we stream live Friday nights at 8 p.m. Pacific on twitch.tv/AzerothRT.
Hey everybody, do you like this show? Do you want to help contribute to this show? Well, you can. Patreon.com/AzerothRT is where you go to throw some dough at the show, like a local Clovis did. Thank you for being our newest patron. I don't know why I'm talking like this, but I've committed to it. So, before I go, I'm going to also thank the Murloc Club. Frasley S., Kryn, Haster, Mimi H., Aaron, Simon. Thank you for being part of the Murloc Club. That's right. You can join them or any level of patronage by going to patreon.com/AzerothRT. You make this show possible, and maybe the possibility of a better ad than this one.
And with that, Turarts, again, thank you very much for joining us. Chat room, you guys were awesome. And everybody else, be good to each other. We'll see you on the other side.
That sounds like we're going to die. That's dark. It's dark as shit. Maybe only half of us will die. And it'd be Ben.
I didn't record the it'll be Ben part. Damn it. But John, we both know between the two of us, I'm the one that survived.
Maybe. We'll see.
No, we know. We went to a website.
I checked it on my house, at my house, and I was alive.
Yeah, well, you did it more than once. I'm sorry, it doesn't work that way.
If I was around to check it twice, then I was alive. My logic is flawless, although we should probably stop talking about this.
Yeah. Well, they don't know what we're talking
We'll
about.
talk about it in a week.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of other things, it's my great transition.
Ooh.
I know. Speaking of the thing we're not talking about right now, but something entirely different.
Yes.
Ben, when do you want to record? Do you want it to be an episode? Aren't you going to be out of town soon at some point?
Are you trying to kick me out?
No, I'm trying to figure out when we should do a show about a movie.
I would say next weekend would be perfect at some point.
Okay. Are we going to do it
because I'd love to see it again beforehand.
Well, me too, because I've only seen it once. Do you want to do it as a special thing?
I think as a special thing would be better.
Okay.
I mean, regardless of what we do, we can't stream it just because that's mean.
It's been long enough. We could stream it.
No, it's not. There are people who are not able to. No.
Those.
John, there are people who either money-wise or through life reasons aren't able to do it right away.
The part of me that gives a shit doesn't live here anymore.
Well, the part of me that does.
You balance each other.
Yeah.
You just put spoilers in the thing, and then people don't show up. It's fine.
No, they still show up.
And then well, you know what? Then they're not living their best life for people who don't want spoilers.
Well, and the thing is we still need to do like extra stuff for, because our Patreon hit certain points and everything. So I think an extra episode would probably be good.
All right.
Besides, I mean, I like talking to people about WoW and I like talking about Marvel stuff. So more of us is a good thing for the people, right?
Yes.
Well, the people who want to hear
I'm
us.
with you on that. And I actually don't want to stream it. I just am now I'm just now so anti-spoiler people that I just want to just because I'm fired up now, just go to Twitter and go to town. But I have my own internal rules and I'm not going to break them. So.
Okay.
I can't. But I want to. I want to so bad. Ben and John are perfectly balanced, as all things should be. It's true. It's true.
Perfect. By the way, the episode title